Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Bikini and the Brain. I am here with the lovely Ashley Kaltwalser, and I am Adam from TeamElitePhysique.com. Coach Adam, they call me. They dubbed me from Ashley. No one calls me Adam anymore. They just call me Coach Adam.
Really?
Yeah, that's it. Everyone, Coach Adam. Every time I'm at a show, it's never, I don't think I've been called Adam unless it was by a judge in the last 5 years at shows. So anyway, we have a topic today.
Yes, we do. We have a topic. Yes.
So what is our topic for today?
We're going to talk about things like we wish we knew when we were first getting into it, / rookie mistakes. Because, hey, especially when you're getting started, rookie mistakes, man, they happen. So don't get down on yourself, but we're going to help you prevent some of them. But let it be known, I am by no means a rookie. I don't think you'd consider me a rookie.
I think that you'd be past that. You just got past it.
I'm a rookie in the game of life, though. I will say that. Yeah. But I still make mistakes. So even though I'm no longer a rookie, I still make mistakes. But I learn from them. So, moving forward.
Yeah.
Each and every time we move forward.
And I have learned them as well as a coach, because a lot of listeners here are coaches or want to be coaches one day. But yeah, you learn a lot as a coach. So hopefully the longer you do it coaching, the less of those mistakes you'll make. And the clients, they never know they're going to bypass those mistakes, but you just know as a coach not to do them again. So that's a good thing. Is that the more experienced your coach is, the more mistakes they've already made, the less likely they are to make them again.
Yes.
Seems to be the case. It's funny as I do watch this and I see people making those mistakes and I'm like, oh, I remember when I did that.
Yeah. Yep. We've been through it all. Yeah. That's for sure. So I think this has to be said before we even get started. Rookie competitors, newbie competitors, I feel like they put so much pressure on themselves to just nail it the first time. Okay. I have some good news for you and I have some bad news. Let's start with the bad news. Okay. So it's your first competition. Here's the bad news. You're going to mess up. You're going to make mistakes, probably a lot of mistakes, probably a lot of silly mistakes. But the good news is you're going to learn from it and you're going to move forward, right?
Yep.
That's the goal. So if you're just getting into this, if you're a rookie, if you're a newbie, please do not put so much of these high expectations on yourself, right? Everyone on stage wants to win, right? Everyone wants to nail it 100%, conditioning, hair, makeup, tan, posing, you name it. That's the goal. Everyone wants that, but give yourself a little bit of grace, especially in the beginning, because you're going to mess up. You're going to make mistakes. I made so many mistakes my first show. My goodness, I made mistakes. But you move forward. And sometimes it's the most successful people aren't the ones that necessarily killed it from the get-go, right? It's the ones that learned from it and just kept pushing forward. So the resilient ones, the ones that learn from things, the ones that didn't let that happen again. So just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Don't put so much pressure on yourself.
There's a saying that goes first prep, worst prep.
Yeah.
First prep, worst prep. And it's, you can prepare as much as you want to, but there's just going to be some things you can't nail. And as like on the coaching side of things, you're going to learn a lot the first time you prep someone too. So on the coaching side of things, there's even different ways of going about like reloading athletes where I'm more cautious the first time than like the second time. And as I get to know them more, now with you, now we know, okay, we can take in carbs like really close to the show. Like we know how they work, but for some people they hold water right after they start having those carbs. And so you don't want to carb load them late. So if it's your first prep with someone, what do? You load them, you try to load them early and then you find out on, let's say Wednesday or Thursday, oh, they actually looked better on Wednesday or Thursday than they did on Saturday. Maybe next time we'll load them late. And then sometimes it works out where you front load. So there's just no way, there's no like possible way to nail it the best the first time, unless you get really lucky, I guess. But in terms of like setting up a system for it, there's going to be some learning to go with your very first prep. And so, yeah, there's a lot of it goes not even just on you being ultra prepared, but just not knowing what's going to happen yet is another part of the whole problem,
Absolutely. So my suggestion, first and foremost, is to really study the sport. Be a master of the craft, right? I always say that, like, leading up to my first show, I watched the same YouTube video of the Arnold Classic Amateur every single day. And even then I was unprepared, I feel like, but do your best to have as much knowledge as possible before heading into your first prep. Watch all the YouTube videos, listen to the Bikini and the Brain podcast. I highly recommend that podcast. Tell your friends, tell your family to tune into the Bikini and the Brain podcast. New episode every Monday, available on your favorite podcast platform and YouTube. That's what I would say. But there's also the element of the stage. And for example, you can practice all day with posing, right? But there is no practice like the stage. You can practice in front of your coach. You can practice in front of your iPhone. You can practice in front of a mirror. You can practice in front of your friends and family, but there is no comparison to the actual stage. You might think you're prepared, but then you're about to walk on stage. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm nervous. Oh my gosh, for the first time. And then you get shaky and then you get unsure. So that's something that even if you practice, it's not always going to go in your favor, right? Even if you were like a theater kid and was used to being on stage, it's totally different, okay? So keep that in mind. So let's roll into the first part, posing. Let's talk about mistakes people make in the beginning with posing. I'll start off. You can really tell when some girl is not used to wearing heels as much. And these aren't just your ordinary heels that you'd wear to the club. They are typically 5 inches. So they're a little more difficult to walk in, especially if you're on a surface you're not familiar with, So even when you practice, you should practice on hardwood, rubber, carpet, you name it, because you don't know what the stage is going to be like until you walk on it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's probably the one that catches people off the most. I would probably say that's the one that catches people off the most. That and then the timing of the day. But the stage one, you're going to have some stages that just, these stages, if they're with like a company or a promotion, they kind of just travel around, and based on, so you'll see their big truck outside, and that's the stage that's at every one of their shows. And, they're put together real quick. They're taken off real quick. Every weekend they're moved around. So you're going to have sometimes where there's going to be little like cracks or little ledges where, you have to be aware of. And you have to be aware of these things. You're going to have to be very steady on your feet. That's just going to be part of the scenario. If you're on a carpet, you're going to feel that it's a lot harder to move your feet with the rubber bottoms of your shoes. And so everyone, you need to be practicing on all these different surfaces. And my recommendation would be to go to as many posing workshops and seminars as you can to get very comfortable. There's going to be different surfaces everywhere. Most like high school places and college campuses will have that wood floor, and that's great to practice in your like local gym aerobics studio. That's usually there. Rubber is a common one as well, and you can do that at your local gym, like in the actual gym part of it, if it's hidden. And then carpet is going to be probably the most common one. You'll see that at a lot of national stages and a lot of pro stages, because these bigger stages, they're pretty much all carpeted, and it's the same thing we talked about. They travel around. Now the crack thing is pretty rare, but it does happen where you have those little like ridges and stuff.
I don't think it's as rare as you think.
Is it more common?
It's common. Yeah. It's pretty common.
So what's a way? What do you found a way to navigate around that? You kind of just keep your eyes on the floor.
Yeah, I learned just to glance at the floor and try to avoid those little cracks, because if your heel gets stuck in that, it can kind of throw you off balance. And believe me, it has happened to me several times, even as a pro when I wasn't as aware. But what's helped with that is nowadays they tend to do the group call outs first before not the group call, it's the group lineup things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Group comparison
before the actual comparison. I love that. So usually they'll do like the group comparison, then your individual routine, and then the actual call outs. So that's so helpful as an athlete, because I can kind of test the surface before doing my routine, which is like the hardest part of it. Right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I get a little sample. Okay. I need to avoid the little crack here, or the surface is a lot more slick than I thought it would be, or whatnot.
One thing I'll say too, that I was surprised. I was at a show and I was very surprised that so many girls did this. Everyone was slipping in this crack of this show. The stage, I think, just needed to be pushed together harder. And the problem is that where the tiles all meet, or where the wood all met, was directly in the center. And so they put the box, you put the box directly in the center. So every girl walked down directly in the center to the box and was dealing with this crack. And I'm like, you don't need to necessarily be in the box in a situation like that. Just be off center by a foot, 2 feet, and you're not going to be dealing with that crack. And then you're not directly in the box, but who cares? The judges don't care if you're directly in the box and you're individual. But so many girls were getting their heels stuck, and I'm like, just move over. And
see, that's a big rookie mistake. You don't have to be like literally in the center of the box, you know, as long as your 1 foot is in it or something, you're fine.
Yeah, exactly. So just look at the stages. Luckily a lot of the times, to put you at ease, you can go to check-ins, and usually you're doing check-ins at the show. So you can, feel the stage. Sometimes the promoters even let you go up there if it's before, before the show.
I like to rub it and just roll all over it and just caress it and just be like, yeah.
Like a dog
with
his back
stage.
Whenever my dog goes into my room, it's the only carpeted room. She just,
that's exactly what I do every time. Just kidding.
So that's one thing. Now, the other thing I will say, that catches people off guard is like the timing of the show. That always catches people off too. So, they say, oh, the girls are going to start at 3. And then you're like, you're not on till, because you're a age class bikini girl in the open division only. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, I was ready at 3. I don't have any food backstage. I don't have anything backstage. I'm going to be on by 4. You're like 9 o'clock rolls by. You're like, they're only on B class in the open. I got another hour before they get to me. I'm like, yeah, that is definitely a likely scenario. That happens all the time.
Or the opposite, whenever they really wait to the last minute and as if the show's going to wait on them. And you see, there has to be a few girls every single show that it's like, where did they go?
Yeah.
Oh, they're still getting their makeup done. Okay. So just so you guys know, the show does not wait for you. I'm so sorry. No one's going to be like, where is number 42? Okay, let's hold off the whole show until number 42 gets done with their makeup. No, they don't care even if it's like the actual makeup artist doing your makeup, you still got to be where you need to be at that time. So you need to be aware of this, right? Going back to the posing, also, I think we should throw out a few more tips as well. I think a lot of girls will try to emulate their favorite poser on stage, and maybe it's not fitting for them. Especially as a beginner, you shouldn't be concerned about adding a whole bunch of flair. Maybe keep it more basic, and as time goes on and you get more comfortable, add the flair. But you can tell when people try a little too hard to add the flair, and maybe they're still a little shaky. Maybe they're still not comfortable on stage yet. So keep to the basics first, because keep in mind, the judges want to see the mandatory poses first and foremost before you doing all this other fancy stuff. So the shorter the better, probably in the beginning. Just keep it clean and practice walking in the heels you'll be wearing on stage, because like I said, they're different from the heels you'd go out in the club with. They're a lot harder to balance, and that can really throw people off. Yeah,
I would say that was a good way of covering that right there. There's not really anything else on that. One thing I do want to go into, you talked about the show will not wait for you.
Yeah.
We were at USA's. Me and Ashley were there in USA's, and there was a girl in the first call out in the A class, and she got a first call out, and then so she came out, did comparisons. The judges loved her. She got a first call out, and then she wasn't back on stage. All right, remember that? I was like,
it wasn't even like they allowed them to. How do I say it? It wasn't even a break time. It's almost like she wasn't paying attention. Like you were supposed to walk back around to the other side of the stage or whatever,
and then come back on.
Come back on. It's almost like she was just like, oh, I'm done until I'm done for the day or whatever. And then she was nowhere to be seen. So I don't know if she went to the bathroom. I don't know if she went back to her room. I don't know.
Yeah, but she lost her first call out.
She lost her first call out. That's insane.
I had a friend lose a pro card. He got it eventually, but he should have had it at North Americans, and it was a Masters, and so he didn't get it till the next year at Masters. So, and he did the same thing. He just didn't. He did the judging in the morning, got a first call out, was dead center, was late to finals, and didn't get his pro card, and then he had to wait a whole year because that was the cutoff for a Masters, and so he had to wait. North Americans was the cutoff. He won for sure, but no, he was DQ'd, right? He wasn't there. And then he went the next year and won Masters Nationals. Had to wait a whole year to compete as a Masters pro. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
They will not wait for you. So make sure you're always paying attention. So I always say be there, be early. I can't tell you how many times, and I say this to everyone, you come on time, make sure you're here at what the window says. But I'll have girls show up and I'm like, and it sucks because I don't want to stress them out, but I have kind of no way of conveying to them the urgency besides, hey, get here now. And then they finally show up and I'm stressing them out like, hey, we got to get your hair, got to get your oil, got to get your pump, got to get this. I'm like, you know, and so they're coming back and I'm just throwing at them. I'm like, hey, you got to get this, because you're getting on stage, they're already lining you up. And I feel bad because I know I'm not helping the situation in terms of like their nerves, but I literally have to get everything done in like 2 minutes because of when they showed up. So you don't want to do that. You don't want to go on stage where you could have got a better pump or you missed your oil or anything like that. So just plan on being back there early and plan on being there for a long time. Like have food, just kind of pay attention, you know, and you're gonna have to wait. So waiting backstage is the same as waiting anywhere else. So, you know, yes, you can wait in the audience. Nothing wrong with that. But when Bikini starts, I generally say, hey, when Bikini starts, just go backstage, you know, that's, so if you're a tall class.
And I would say sometimes too, it's not even the fact that they're purposely trying to wait till the last minute to come out, but let's be honest, a lot of times it has something to do with the makeup appointment.
Yeah.
And I know Adam is a big believer in kind of doing your own makeup, and I do my own makeup, and I prefer doing it. Like, even if I had it, you know, I could get my money comped from my sponsor for free. It doesn't matter to me. I still want to do my own makeup for that reason. Yeah. But also I get more control. But it's taken me years of practice. So this is where I might slightly disagree with Adam. Yeah. Because I think you're a guy and you don't know
how hard it is. Yeah.
Not everyone has that skill.
Yeah.
You know, even if you're okay with doing your daily makeup, I think you're a little maybe because you don't pay attention to the details. I always say this, if you want a good idea of how regular, normal people do their makeup and how good they are, go on to the Amazon makeup reviews and you'll be like, oh, that's how average people do their makeup. Oh, okay. Well, because you're used to seeing like me and Kimber doing our own makeup and you're like, oh yeah, that looks great. Yeah. But
I have around some girls that can do some good makeup. Yeah. Tori, she like does it. You know,
oh gosh, she slays. Yeah. But not everyone's like that. And I'm not saying I'm like the best ever. I'm not, but I hope it doesn't come across that way. I think I'm good at doing my own face, but basically for me, what I'm trying to say is even if it isn't quite as good as a professional makeup artist, to me, I'd rather just have less stress and just be more in control than to kind of take that risk of, oh, I hope I'm going to get done in time. I hope I'm going to like it. I hope I don't have to redo it.
Yeah.
You know, because you've had clients before too that's gotten their makeup done and they just didn't like it, so they redid it anyway. So I would say, like, if it's your first show, you actually probably should get your makeup done because you just don't know. You don't know these things. You don't know how it's supposed to look. You don't know what colors to use, how to match your face to your tan. I think if you're really good at doing makeup, you might be able to, after like seeing it get done to yourself, like maybe be able to do it, or maybe you are like an actual makeup artist and I believe in you, but just be aware of it or at least practice ahead of time.
Yeah. And there's a girl makeup, Lindsay Ambrosia on Instagram. She's great. She teaches classes online to a lot of our girls, Makeup Madame on Instagram. You can reach out to her for one-on-one lessons. But the reason that I'm always pushing it is because the timing of it. That's the only reason I don't is because of timing. Once in a while, yeah, you'll have a bad makeup experience with someone and have to redo it. I actually had a really funny on, and again, this is the client telling me this. This is one of those funny stories. I have a lot of these like funny stories that just make me crack up. It makes the days of the shows are so fun. There's so many fun things that happen at shows, you know? Like there's a lot of stress always going to the show and getting to the show and making sure you're on time. But then when it happens, like it's just fun usually, right? We have so many laughs at shows. But this client was so funny. She did her makeup and she's a pro. And she came backstage. She's like, Adam, I need you to be honest with me. And I was like, okay. Like it was like a super serious tones. She's like, do I look like a drag queen? I was like, because the makeup was so extreme with like the contours and stuff. And I was like, they went a little extreme. She's like, just say yes or no. And I was like, you can't, kind of. Like, it was so extreme. She's like, oh, I'm redoing my makeup. It was so funny. So she redid it. And she did a great job redoing it herself. Yeah. So that's one of those rare ones, but it was hilarious. She's a really funny chick. I'll have to tell you about her after, but she'll know who she is when she hears this. But the main thing is the timing and the stress, the extra stresses. So the problem is when you use a makeup artist who's really booked, you'll get these like 4:00 appointments and you're not on stage till 1, and then you have to sit around in that makeup and you have to wake up earlier. You're up all day. It's just more stressful. So, and the other part of the stress is that you can have your makeup like at the last show we were at. Luckily, the show was being cool, but they kind of stopped the show.
Well, because the makeup artist like passed out or something.
Yeah, there were supposed to be 2 makeup artists, and one of them got something happened, and so she left. So there was only one makeup artist doing like all the girls in the show, and they delayed the show. But luckily, they stopped the show for the makeup. But it in a normal scenario, they don't do that.
Yeah, that was very generous of them, and I think to be fair too, it was like a smaller show that wouldn't happen if the numbers were bigger. You know what I mean? But yeah, there's a lot of things that can go wrong, but also a lot of things that can go wrong with your own makeup. So just know your abilities and practice. And, if you do book with a makeup artist, just make sure you get a good time. Okay.
Yeah.
And make sure you give yourself plenty of time so that you're not getting rushed on stage or anything like that. And, I think that's all I got to say about that.
You know, I got one just popped in my head. This is a good one that we didn't have listed. Is don't pay for your show too early.
Oh yeah.
That's one that
things change.
That's one that's screwed over a lot of girls a lot of times, and I get it and I understand the reasoning for it. So we'll have, throughout the year, we'll have clients sign up that it's their first show and they're super excited. And they're like, I'm going to get a coach and I'm going to do bikini and this and that. I've been working out for a year and I'm going to do this now, whatever. So they're excited and it's awesome. And I think that I love it. Believe me, I love the enthusiasm. The problem is that your coach doesn't know your scenario yet. They're learning you, they're learning how your body's going to respond. Sometimes you can come to a coach and you're already so dieted down and you're so cardioed up and your hormones are way off. And it's like, okay, now to get you the rest of the way, you've already kind of adapted to this point. So I don't even know how much more room there is before we have to kind of reset you, right? Type of thing. I don't know if you're going to be ready for sure. We don't know that 100%. The problem is girls they'll join and then they'll say, oh, I paid for my show. I paid for my NPC card. I paid for my makeup, my tan, my this and that. None of it has refunds, right? And you might not make the cut. Like sometimes they come with these ambitious goals. They'll be like, I want to lose 30 pounds, 40 pounds to get ready for the show in 16 weeks. And I'm like, whoa, hold on. Did you pay for the show already? Like, yeah, I already paid for it. And then that kind of keeps them, it's great because it gives them a time-based deadline, right? They're committed to it. They have that time-based deadline. And I understand when you ultra commit to something, it kind of makes you do it more. The problem is when it comes down to it, hey, you still got to lose 30 pounds. That's really hard to do in that time frame. Come 4 weeks out, I'm telling them, hey, you're not going to be ready for the show because you got 15 more pounds to go or something. Mm-hmm. Like, well, I already paid for it. I'm going to do the show anyway. And I'm like, that's not how you want to enter a fitness competition. It's not a transformation contest. It's a fitness competition. You want to do it when you're ready because you don't want to be your first show to be like you not being ready the first time you get on stage, So don't, plan on the show, but be smart and don't overcommit and pay for everything if you're going through like a big transformation. Now, if you're someone like Ashley who's done a bunch of shows and you just have, 5 pounds to go, that's different. But we're talking the big transformation people, like just be smart. I've had a lot of girls like lose money over it because they've overcommitted too early in their first time. So
yeah, absolutely. And especially like nowadays, there are so many NPC shows out there. It's not like if you miss this one, then there's probably one in 2 weeks. Yeah. They're happening all the time. So, if you're not ready for one, just push it back. And as long as you don't overly commit, then, you have the freedom to do that. And especially like as a rookie, you need to give yourself even more time because you just don't know how your body's going to respond in that period of time. On paper, it says like, oh, if I lost a pound every week leading up into the show, I will be ready, right? But that doesn't always translate like that. Sometimes we have weeks where we don't make any progress. Sometimes we go up for one random reason. Sometimes you get sick for 2 weeks and then you can't make progress. So things happen, and don't put that pressure on yourself if it's your first few shows. Allow yourself some grace. So just don't submit your money early. Just hold off until you know for sure, until you're actually ready, because there's shows happening all over. Okay. So if you don't get into this one, hey, there's one next month you can do. So that's what I would suggest.
Yeah. Yeah. So especially the travel shows too. You run into that too sometimes too. So just so we're on the same, everyone knows sometimes there's this thing called like an early bird pricing that will usually remain that way all the way till 2 to 3 weeks before the show. And then after those 2 weeks, then it'll go to regular pricing if they even have that. But that seems to be dying. It seems like that's not really a thing that much anymore. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't even save you anything. So yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what's our next one? Hair, makeup, tanning.
Oh my gosh, remember when my first show, I was a hot mess, man.
Blonde hair, Target suit.
I thought my hair would look so good bleached blonde. So no, my hair is not originally blonde. It's like light brown. So yeah, my hair's not black either, but I'm a naturally light brown. And yeah, I bleached my hair, and it was like, when you do it yourself, because I was broke, and I just did it on the box. It was like yellow. I didn't even tone it. It was like yellow and fried. This looks so bad. And also, I did my own tan, but I did it from like a salon. Like, I didn't do my own tan. I got it done like at a regular salon, just like a normal beach spray tan, not like a competition spray tan. Yeah. And then I got my suit like from Target, and I just like adjusted the straps on it to make them rhinestone, but it's just white with like rhinestone connectors. Got it from Target. I don't know what I was thinking. Posing was a mess. Conditioning, I was probably over conditioned. So physique wise, I looked okay. I think I could have made it into like the first call at my first show, but everything else was just a hot mess. A hot mess. Yeah. Not good. But I learned.
Yeah.
I learned. It's funny because like my first show was the Arnold Classic Amateur, right? Go big or go home, they say. So that's a big show.
I can't believe you walked into that show as your first show too.
Yeah. You know why? It was close.
Go big or go home. Yeah.
It was 2 hours from my home. So I lived in Ohio. I lived in Akron, Ohio, and it was in Columbus. So it's like a 2 hour drive. And I knew it was like a big deal. Like I knew, but that's what made it exciting. So my first show, I got 14th in my height class, right? And then guess what? The following year, I got it together. I got an actual good suit. I got an actual spray tan. My hair was darker. And guess what? I won the whole freaking thing. So I was the Arnold Amateur Champion. From 14th place in my height class to then 1 year later to winning the whole thing.
That's crazy.
Pretty good improvements because I was like, oh, I'm not going to let that happen again. So I fixed every mistake. I came in looking better. Posing was better. Tan hair, makeup, everything was better. Suit was on point. All those minor details, especially in bikini, matter. And it's funny because I think some people get like, I don't know, you posted that one reel and like people got salty whenever we were like, yeah, hair, tanning, makeup. Yeah, it matters. It's not just physique. Duh. It's bikini. Like, hello, where have you been? Yeah, it's in the rules.
Legitimate a fitness model contest.
Yeah, some girl was like, it's so disappointing that they actually judge. They don't judge more on physique. It's also hair, makeup, everything else. Like, yeah, duh.
It's been that way since conception of it.
Hello, where have you been? Yeah. So hair, makeup, tan, suit, posing, it matters. It's not just physique, those things matter less and less the higher the division. So they're probably not going to mark you down for bad makeup in bodybuilding, women's bodybuilding. I doubt they're going to be like, I had you in first, but your eyeshadow was a little too light. Like they're not going to say that. It matters more in bikini and then so on and so on. But yeah, it matters. And as it should be. I like it that way. That's what makes it fun. I like to feel like a fit princess for a day. Yeah. I get to play dress up. That's how I think of it. Like, I get to play dress up. How cool is it? I can just pick whatever suit I want, do my makeup, hair, and I look like a little doll for a day. And I'm all like smelly and greasy from the tan glaze and everything. But hey, at least I look good. Yeah. I love that. Playing dress up. That's fun. That's what I like the most about competing, honestly. Yeah. Some people are like, I just love to train hard. I love to train hard. Me, I'm like, I just like the glamour of it. I think that's so fun. Trying different looks and stuff. Yeah,
you try new things all the time, and you fine-tuned it quite a bit too. Even sometimes things that seem like they don't make sense why they'd be different, but they do. Like the red suit and the straight hair just go really well. Versus the green suit with a little bit of curl to your hair. Like I'm like, it doesn't make sense why those are different, but I just like the flow of those, right? Like
different vibes.
Yeah, it's just what you've tried it, we figured it out. We're like, I like that. We're both of it. Yeah.
I've been wearing my hair straight in a long time. Yeah. I wore it only straight once last year at the Toronto show, but I wore a red suit this year and I wore curly for both. But I actually like the red and the curls because it kind of reminds me of like a pin-uppy, a pin-uppy look.
It goes more, that.
But you like it straight, and honestly, straight hair is pretty easy to do. So I will say this. If you're not confident with doing your makeup, you could probably do your own hair. And if you really want to play it safe, you can do it straight. It's really hard to mess up straight hair. Yeah. As long as it's not like super humid and your hair super like frizzy and curly, it's pretty safe to say straight hair it's hard to mess up. Just keep retouching it with a straightening iron and everything like that.
It just makes sure there's a little volume to the top.
Yes, you got to
Really,
tease. You got to tease your hair. You can't have it like super like pressed to your cheeks, which is another thing too. Is let's get into hair just like a little bit since we're talking about it. There is no right or wrong hairstyle, honestly. I do see they're being a little more generous with like even colors and different cuts and stuff. But for me, I like to play it safe. So you're not going to catch me on stage with like blue hair or anything. So I like to play it safe. But one big thing to note, and you're big on this, just make sure the cut, especially in the back, isn't too wide to where it covers like your shoulders. Because in the back pose, they do judge your rear delts. So you might think, oh, my hair is covering my back. They don't look at your back. No, they do. So make sure your rear delts aren't hiding, and make sure your hair is like kind of tapered into like a V, so that it shows off that pretty waistline that you worked so hard for. And then make sure it's not touching your butt either. Yeah,
and it helps. And with that, when it's in that like V that you're talking about, it kind of accentuates your natural curve too. It makes you look a little bit more hourglassy, so versus hiding the lats. So
yeah, and I would say this too. A lot of people will be like, "Oh, I need to dye my hair because it looks better on stage," and it might. But I would say this: there's no one out there that has to do that, and there's ways around it. So, like, let's say you have really light platinum blonde hair and that's not going to look good on stage because the contrast with the tan, but you don't want to dye it because gosh, it's hard to dye your hair from platinum blonde to then like dark because you can't get it back. You'd fry it off. You can do things like wearing a wig. You can even use like a temporary hair dye to where it lasts like maybe a month or so and then it fades, or just even tone it and have that as a temporary option. But you don't need to like permanently change your hair for anything. And if your hair is too short, you can always add extensions. And if your hair, like let's say, is like super long and you don't want to cut it because you've been growing it for years, but you need that like V taper, I would say even just curling it in at the ends can help with that. If your hair is already too long, it's maybe just you'd have to at that point wear it curly just to shorten it up. Yeah. But you don't have to like permanently straighten or you don't have to permanently change your hair for the stage. There's ways around it. Believe me, there are ways around it. So you don't have to damage your actual everyday hair just for the stage.
There you go. Yeah. And then going back into kind of traveling back into the whole people not understanding where Bikini why it matters with the hair and the makeup and the tan and the and the complexion and all that. These are all judged things. Beauty flow is part of it. So where Bikini comes from, I think it's important that people know. It comes from originally, so a long time ago, there was this thing called the Flex Model Search, which was basically, it is what it sounds like. It's a model search, right? And so you had bodybuilding, you had figure, you had fitness, and that's it. You had bodybuilding, figure, and fitness, And so, but you also had this thing called the model search, and these model searches were showing up to these like big shows, like you'd have it at the Olympia, where there's like a big model search, and there were so many girls that were fit but weren't figure or fitness level fit yet, and it was like bigger than every entry of all the other shows. And then there was all these guys that weren't bodybuilders, that was where Men's Physique came from, right? And they're like, and then so people eventually put two and two together and were like, man, we should create a competition for these guys because they are. There's a lot of them, and obviously there's a fitness sector that we're not tapping into, and so thus Men's Physique and Bikini was born from that. So it came from a model search, and so yes, there's still going to be some model vibes to it, a fitness model look to it. So that's what it originally was a fitness model thing, and then they made a division, which it's not the Flex Model Search, but they kind of took that as an example. Okay, there is a market for it, so let's make this fitness model division. So yes, it does matter. So your hair, your makeup, your tan, complexion, all these things, they go into judging. And it is, it's part of it, and it's part of it in the guys, part of it too in the men's division. Obviously not as much, but it's still part of it. That's why you see these Men's Physique guys, and they all look clean on stage. I see some clean hair. I was like, if I want a new hairstyle, I go to a Men's Physique pro show, and I'm like, okay, that guy's got a clean.
I don't think it matters as much as it used to, though. Honestly, I think it's more just look well groomed, because I think just like overall in these divisions, you just, especially like a Men's Physique and Bikini, they look for like a healthy, radiant look too. Yeah. So just display good health, nice skin, hair, teeth.
The way that it was explained to me in Bikini, and you're not going to see any Men's Physique guys wearing, stage makeup or doing hair. They just look clean. But in Bikini, the way it was explained to me was, we want it to be hard. We want it to be, something that you have to reach for, but it shouldn't look like that on stage. It should look like you just woke up and you decided to go to the beach that day, and you happen to be into really fit, and maybe you're going on a beach vacation and you dieted for a couple weeks to get there. That should be like the look of it.
Yeah,
of
that's
course,
exactly what I did.
yeah. It's funny when the judges tell you that because you're like, right, okay, because all they've eaten is tilapia and done cardio for hours.
I
before
don't
they got
eat
here.
tilapia.
But not you. But that's how it's supposed to look, like this natural feel, and I'm on the beach and I'm running on the beach and I'm healthy and I'm just having an ice cream on the boardwalk.
Yeah. And this is something I think not a lot of people mention in bikini, but I've even heard judges say it. You need to look healthy in your face too.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think a rookie would run into this problem because the level isn't as high as, like, let's say the pros, but they don't want you looking all like depleted in the face.
Yeah.
They don't want you looking like you had a rough prep, you know, they want you to look healthy. So skin, hair, everything. That's why it's part of it. That's part of the package. Just looking healthy, looking radiant, glowing, if you will.
Yeah, and one of the mistakes that hopefully you can avoid from listening to this podcast is just how you convey yourself on stage of being healthy versus being like, you could have the easiest prep in the world and be super healthy on stage, not cut any water, anything like that, but then you could just not smile and not look like you're having fun up there, and then you give off the appearance of, oh, she must have had a really rough prep. She's like barely standing up there, you know, she's like miserable, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and usually when people are up there and they're like miserable and they're not smiling, like they're going through something, they're cramping, they're dehydrated, something, right? Where they just look like they're just miserable up there. And you're like, oh, you just kind of think in your head as a judge, like, she must have had a rough prep. Like she's not having fun up there. Let's get her off stage because maybe she's too low in water or something, you know? Mm-hmm. So yeah, so be up there and that's your time to sell that, you know, smile and look at the judges and look vibrant and just catch yourself just always smiling and just looking happy. You know, that's important on stage. Like, you're having fun. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The energy it's like a magnet. It really attracts. So just make sure that even if you're not feeling the best, you fake it for 5 minutes, you're on stage, right? Yeah. Just look like you're having the time of your life. It's contagious, really. And it's very underestimated. So, you know, I would even say this, even if your posing isn't as crisp and as clean as you would like it to be, if anything, just look like you're having fun. If you stumble, just pretend like it didn't happen. You know, I think the stumbles happen a lot more than what people even realize. It happens to us pros too. It happens at the Olympia level. It happened at the Arnold. And even the girls that stumble will still win, right? Just don't like drag on it. Like, if you mess up, you make a little misstep, don't be like, you can tell when people get frustrated after doing something like that and they just like completely like lose it and they lose their focus. Just pretend like it didn't happen. And maybe the judges won't notice. But they've said they don't really judge. Like, if somebody like does one little stumble, it's not that big of a deal. You just kind of have to recover from it. Yeah. You know, no one's perfect. And if you look closely, and even at the top pros routine, you'd be like, oh, I think she did. She made a little misstep. No biggie. Just move forward. I've
seen, there was a show before in Colorado. It's not there anymore, but it used to be, it was a really fun show, but it had like a full fashion walk behind it, a model walk. Like, the whole thing was a stage. So it was a stage. It was called The Warrior, and it was a stage, and then you had like a full model walk around the whole audience, and there was stairs to get there. And the girl, when she was going out, she actually fell on the stairs, which was like, you know, everyone's worst nightmare. And everyone was like, oh, and you hear the audience, oh, and you know, she's super embarrassed, of course. And she ended up winning her class. So like, you know, it doesn't matter. And I saw another girl one time, which was really, actually, this is probably like the funniest one. This chick was awesome. She was in the back pose and she got wobbly. Like, she was like loose. You know how you're like trying to catch your balance? It's like, seemed like her shoe was a little loose or something. And she was like catching her balance. And so everyone in the audience was like, oh, like they're all like, oh God. Right? Because she's about to fall. And then she like catches herself and then she looks back and she goes,
I love that.
And then she won too. And everyone started laughing. The judges thought it was like the cutest thing, but like, it doesn't matter. You know, those are just two extremes on that. But that one, I will never forget that one because she was like, it was so funny.
We're good. Yeah, so, just play it off. Yeah, be confident.
You're gonna be fine. They don't judge on that stuff. It's not like a lot of times. Another thing we could actually go into here is the whole deduct points thing, because a lot of times like, oh, if I stumble or this, they're gonna deduct points. They don't have a point deduction system where you like start off at 100 points.
In fact, the lower the score, the better, honestly, in how this works.
But let's just go deduct all of them.
Yeah. If you ever look at score sheets, I don't know how often they do it for NPC, but for pros, you'll see the score sheets. The lower the score, the better.
Yeah. It's like golf. Golf. So the way that judges score, so you know, is And this is good for you to know too, because it's hard. And I've judged shows before. I wish I could judge shows again. They won't let me judge anymore.
I think it's a conflict of interest
Yeah.
now.
Well,
Can you judge the show that I compete in?
Yeah, I would totally do it. I wonder if they're going to be biased, right? That's the reason. So it was funny because I'm qualified to judge because I have done it. But they're like, yeah, we just don't know who's your athletes. You know, you don't know who your athletes
That
are.
makes sense. I'm
Yeah,
glad
it's
they do
fine.
that.
Yeah, I just like it, you know. And then the other promoter was like, well, if you judge the show, you can't have any athletes in the show. So why would I have you judge the show when you're going to bring a bunch of athletes? And I was like, okay, fair argument.
Yeah.
So you know, but when you're judging, it's difficult because you have 10 girls up there. Usually as a judge, when you see 2 girls come out of, let's say, 15 at a big show, you kind of know who's 1 and 2 like right away. Like it's pretty obvious who the top 2, top 3 are when they come out. But when you're looking at, you know, sometimes 2 through 6 or 3 through 5 or whatever, it's really tough. Like it's hard to, and you want to give people what they earn, you know, because I know how people will sit on it and how they'll fester on it. How did this girl beat me? And really, you know, obviously the top 2 is the most important because it qualifies you for nationals at like an NPC show, which is the only level I judged at. And then, so you want to get those right. And then the rest of them, you still want to get right because they worked for it. Right. But so you look at them and this is how it works. You got 10 girls on stage and you mark them 1 through 10, right? That's how you judge. So if someone you think is 10th place, you give them the score of 10, that's 10 points. If 5 judges give them 10 points for 10th place, they get 50 points. They finish at whoever finishes below them, finishes higher than them. That's how it works. If you're first place and 5 judges have you as first place, you'll get 5 points. But just so you know, they do throw out the high and the low score. So you'd actually want to only show 3 points on that scorecard. So you know, and the only reason they do that is just for the scenario of if I was judging and they didn't know I was training Ashley, of course I would judge her first place, right? Like of course I would. I'd be like, you know, any chance I could, I would do that. But because of that, they throw one of the scores away. But let's say I didn't like Ashley, right? Let's say she was my mortal enemy and I've had her as like, I'm just going to give Ashley 20th place. I hate that chick, right? So
there's no such thing. It's 16 and
16th
then
place, yeah,
stop.
then it stops. So I give her 16th place. Well, they throw that score out too. So you can't have a bias of really liking Ashley, being my best friend, or being my worst enemy. Both of those scores get thrown out. Mm-hmm. So if you have 5 judges scoring, only 3 of them will count. The average of those 3 will give you your score. So if it's a 2, a 1, and a 1, that's 4 points. Most likely she would win that show at a 4 points. So there you go. So that's how it works. But so there's no deduction system. That's what people always think. There's this deduction system of, oh, if I did this, they're going to deduct points. Like that doesn't work that way. You might slip a placing if you made a huge mistake and I'll judge you as 10th instead of 9th, but you're not missing, I'm not deducting a point type of thing.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
There you go.
I think I skimmed over the tan because I got so distracted by my first show.
Yeah.
But yeah, listen, I've also, with tans, I would suggest this. If it's your first show, please don't do it yourself, okay? Please don't. Even to this day, as a pro, competed in, I don't even know how many shows, I've lost count. I don't feel comfortable doing my own tan. Yeah. I still to this day don't. I will always get it sprayed. And the thing about that is, especially if it's the official tan of the show, they're going to get everyone looking the same shade. Unless you're like an extremely dark skinned athlete, then they're going to be darker. But generally speaking, around the same color. Because in this competition, you don't want to be the one that's like super, super light or anything like that. And if you have any issues turning green or anything or muddy, they can fix. But if you're doing it yourself, you probably don't have that ability until it's too late. Oh, like, you know, you do your tan and you're just like, oh man, I realize I'm way lighter than everyone else here on stage and it's too late, you know? So some people are okay with doing it. And I would say, like, if you're a very fair-skinned athlete, I'm pretty fair-skinned, that I don't have the advantage of, like, somebody with, like, a darker skin tone that already has, like, a natural base coat. Like, you have... I
do pro... Yeah, I do pro tan.
You have, like, already basically a natural base coat. So, you know what I mean? But the fairer you are, the riskier it is to do your own tan, in my opinion. Now, if I was a darker skin athlete, I'd probably be like, yeah, I'm doing it myself. It's like harder to mess up. You already got some base coats. But, you know, the more coats of tan you have on, the more likely it is that it can get muddy, it can get streaky, it can start changing different colors. So that's my advice. You know, if you're darker skinned, shoot, I would do it. go ahead, do it yourself. But if you're lighter skin,
make sure you're even tanned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, if you're a very dark skin athlete, just so you know, everyone still needs to get
100%.
Still needs to get a tan on. Okay,
Big
because you might be like, oh, I'm naturally darker skin, but in comparison, you'll look a little more on a gray versus everyone else. It's a little more richer, like almost like a reddish tone.
Yeah.
Or
it's like
orange
a bronzy-ish.
Yeah.
It's like the trophy look.
Yeah.
It's like it's a hard thing to, and some people just absorb the tan better too. Like they look like really like a trophy. It was funny. There's this a friend of mine in Colorado, and I was like, man, your skin just takes so well to this tan. You look like the trophy. Like you just shine like the trophy. It was so funny. I was like going in, like, I don't know who looks like that with this tan. You know, so some people just absorb it better and just reflects the light better. Yeah. But he was a darker athlete too, and it just worked really well for him. So yeah, no matter what. But also one of the things too, as a rookie that you might think, because this is the problem, is that the tanning companies, and this is no knock at the tanning companies, but they do say, oh, if you got tan lines, we'll be able to cover it. It's fine. You'll see the tan lines. Like you'll still see them if they're strong. If they're light, then you'll be fine. If you have like an ombre tan line, like my arms always get ombre tan lined, you could usually be fine with that. But if it's hard lines, like if you're a girl who's always going to the beach or something, you have those hard tan lines, like you'll see them still. So even out your tan, even though if they say not to, because yes, if your arms are a little lighter and it's like ombre like mine are, when I get that like half farmer tan, it's a lot different than those hard lines. You will see them. So
absolutely. And of course, follow the instructions of the tanners. They should give you some instructions on like, don't wear deodorant, don't wear perfume, make sure you exfoliate for a week leading up and to shave. And just to clarify, because I get asked this sometimes in the DM, like, when you say shave, do you shave like everything? And I say, yes, everything. I'm not a hairy person. I really am not. But I will shave in places I don't even think there's hair. And the reason why is everyone has microscopic fuzzies, no matter how hairy or unhairy you think you are, even me, which I'm very unhairy. But these little microscopic hairs, little fine, little fuzzies, everyone has it everywhere. And they can actually kind of absorb your tan instead of absorbing into the skin. So if you want the best, most even tan, shave everywhere, even places you don't think you grow hair, you know?
Yeah.
That's my advice.
I liked it like that. It was, I felt smooth. Like I would just like glide.
Yeah, just gliding.
I had better aerodynamics.
That's funny. So talking about suits, okay. Now, I think this is one of the biggest mistakes rookies can make, because to be fair, they don't know what the suit color looks on them on stage until you step under the lights, get on the actual stage. Because the thing is, when you see a suit color in person, you're like, oh, I like this color. But then you get on stage and it's a totally different color, right? And sometimes that has to do with the stones on it. Like if you have, for example, a red suit, you know, the material itself is extremely red. But if all of the stones are like white or that crystal AB, guess what color your suit's going to look like on stage?
Yep.
It's going to be
crystal AB.
It's going to be like pink.
Yeah.
Pink. Usually, or whitish pink. Okay. So you need to I would say, look on the suit website, which by the way, I use angelcompetitionbikinis.com. And guess what? I use code AshleyKFit and I get 20% off.
Dang. Is it 20%?
20% off, guys.
Seriously? It's that much?
20% off. Yes. Actually,
that's a great
I'm
code.
Sponsored by them, so I don't have to pay, but
yeah.
Anybody else, you can save 20% by using code AshleyKFit at checkout.
I thought it was 10% actually.
Well,
that's
whenever you're Ashley K Fit, you get 20% because I'm way cooler. So
that's crazy.
That's a
crazy.
Deal.
Yeah, no, that's a good discount.
Anyway,
I gotta start telling people that. I didn't know it was 20. I thought it was 10 this whole time.
No, Adam, this isn't child's play. We're talking about code Ashley K Fit.
That's a big deal. But they have on there, and what I will say too about Angels is, okay, I will say this. This is a knock at myself, but I earned it. I'm probably one of the harder people to work with in terms of these little things like that, like the suit, the hair, the tan. Like I want it perfect, right? And everyone said, hey, like he's harder to work with, but you know he comes with a lot of volume, and he comes, just get it right, and he's
very voluminous.
Yeah,
that's what they say.
He'll bring athletes to you if you just get it right. But yeah, he's going to be very, very particular. And I'm sorry to the people who've provided services to us. I want it right. The girls work too hard to not have it right? So Angels has a perfect cut. Like their cut is so perfect. There's these little things that you guys won't think about that your suits just have. a lot of this is because of just time of, with my suits at least, is because I've had issues before and I want certain things to be better. So, getting the fabric in between the glutes right, like that had to be a measurement that changed over time where I wanted it perfect. And I was like, okay, now it's perfect. This is where I want it. So now the suits, we've taken all the problems out of the equation of, okay, this was a problem, how it sits on the glutes was a problem, like whatever it is. And all of these things have been kind of molded over years and years and are like perfect. And I'm not saying I did this with Angels, but I've had issues with other suit manufacturers and whatnot. And now Angels, I fully trust. And if there ever is an issue, I'm like, hey, I need a 1/4 of an inch on that back piece on the suit now going forward. And they're like, we got you, it's done. So I'm really, really confident with them. I don't even know the last time I've had an issue with an Angel suit. So, and I don't get any money from them. I guess I do probably get a little bit here and there because they rent a room here, but that's not a thing. Like it doesn't matter to me to have that rented or not, but it's just, I'm very confident in them. I know the owners very well and I just love their suits. I just love them. Yeah.
But you can look on the site and if you can get inspiration from suits that's been worn on stage so you know what they look like, right? So that's the great thing about them is like also you can get a consultation with them and tell them what you want. And they'll tell you like, yeah, if you get it like this, it's going to look like that on stage. So I think it's good to have guidance and it's free, of course. So just go under the consultation tab. But, sometimes, unfortunately, your favorite color that you wear every day doesn't translate to the stage as well, or doesn't translate on your skin tone. Like, for example, I've always just wanted to wear yellow. I've wanted to wear yellow. I think that would be such a bomb color. But unfortunately, as it's been told, my natural skin tone's too pale to pull it off. Now, yellow looks freaking bomb on darker skin athletes. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm jealous. But I don't think I could pull it off, as it's been told to me. So, kind of ruined my...
She's so set on this.
I wanted yellow.
I told her maybe one day at a night show, just do it at a night show,
I don't know. I'd have to get some extra spray tan coats.
Not during the winter.
Yeah.
During the winter, actually turns translucent.
Honestly, I don't think it changed much. But that's just an example. And then, of course, colors like that are pastel usually don't translate that well. They're just too muted. Colors that are fluorescent usually maybe it's a little bit too much. That's why I've never worn a neon green suit. It can be a little too distracting. And basic colors like white, gray, and black are usually no-goes because they just have zero pop to them, you know? I think the safest colors are like, you call them jewel tones, right? Mm-hmm. Like gemstone tones that are bold and saturated, but they're not too light and they're not too neon, colors like red, green, purple, royal blue, colors like that, like gemstone colors usually work really well. And just be aware of how many stones you get on and what color those stones will change the suit, because the color of the suit isn't necessarily the color of the material, rather the mixture of the material and the gemstones itself. So that makes a big difference on stage.
Yeah, you can get, exactly as Ashley said, a red suit with all white crystals on it, and it will just reflect white light for the most part and be very little bit of red in there.
Or pink.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Pink, depending on the lighting.
Yeah. So that's a big thing. And so how it's, the thing I always say to people is don't try to change the game. Don't try to change everything up. Just look at the top 10 at the Olympia, pick a color suit in there. You're going to probably be fine. Those are going to be the safe choices, So I'm always I'm not going to change the game, but if the game changes, I'll change to it.
Totally.
But right now, hey, they're not doing any 2-color suits in bikini in the top, you're not seeing that in the top 10. Hey, if it does, I think Ashley would love that. If all of a sudden they started doing that, why not go 2-tone?
Right. Well, to be fair, there's like some ombre and stuff like that. Yeah. But when you say 2-tone, like if you look at like a figure suit, right? Yeah. They can get crazy with the suits. You'll see like little patterns and designs or like zebra stripes or like flowery things.
Yeah.
That doesn't really work for bikini as much. Now you'll see a little variations with like maybe a little bit of an ombre if the colors are closer together, but you're not going to see like
patterns.
Yeah. You're not going to see like tight patterns, right? Yeah. So yeah, and if you are going to ombre, don't make it like two drastically different colors either. It's not going to be like I don't know, yellow ombre into purple or something. Yeah. It doesn't work like that. So, just get a consultation. They'll tell you what's right and what's wrong. But that's exactly what you said. Don't try to change the game. It doesn't really work in your favor like that. And you might be able to pull it off at a smaller show, depending. But I would, my theory is just play it safe, better safe than sorry, because you would never want that feedback. Like, it would hurt me so bad to get feedback and be like, well, I had you at first and it was close, to be honest, but your suit was very distracting. That would suck because it's such a preventable mistake.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, because I wanted to be different and special, you know? So, you know, I always say the safest color, to be honest, is like royal blue. Royal blue looks good on everyone. It really does. That's why I try to avoid it, because it's like too safe for me. But if you want a color that's probably going to look good on you, royal blue.
Royal blues, yeah.
Royal blue. I don't think a judge would be like, that color doesn't work on you.
Yeah, you'll never get that feedback. Yeah, if you plan on doing a bunch of shows, you want one safe suit, you can only get one. It's a safe color to go. It'll last you forever, years. It'll never go out of style.
Exactly. So I think that's about all for now, unless you have any other additions.
I was just trying to think of anything. I think we got most of it covered. And then the thing that you're talked about too is just the expectations, just having those good expectations and understand it is your first show. This is going to be a journey. It's not going to be it's so rare where a girl wins a show, goes to nationals, wins her pro card, goes to a pro show, wins a pro show. I mean,
I don't think that's ever.
I don't even think if that's happened. I know for sure I've seen a girl win a show and then win a pro card, like after.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
That's happened, and even that is crazy rare. But I don't think I've ever seen it go farther than that. Yeah, it's a journey. This is like any other sport, and I think people do underestimate that. And your goals and how you approach them is gonna need to match each other. So if your goal is to have fun and just do a show and transform once a year, I think that's awesome. Do it. I know a guy who's been doing this for like 15 plus years. Every year he does the same show in Colorado, and he says, yeah, I just do this. He's like, I'm not trying to be the best bodybuilder. I don't have the genetics for it, but every year it just gets me into shape. And I just say, hey, every year I'm going to do this show, and next year I'm going to be better. And it forces me to get in shape for summertime. And so I just do that. And I'm like, that's so dope. I think that's so cool,
Absolutely.
And I would never put any pressure on him to improve past that point. This is fun for him. And I think that's great. But he also isn't the same like girl who's saying, I'm going to go to the Olympia and has those same actions, right? Mm-hmm. He knows as soon as he's done with that show, he's going to go have fun, go to the pool. He's going to eat and drink and all this stuff. So he doesn't have the aspirations of being an Olympian. The problem that I will see is I see some girls will do that, get in shape, and then do that weekend stuff when they're partying all summer or whatever and not working out as hard and eating whatever they want and gaining a bunch of weight. And they're like, oh, but I want to do the Olympia too. I'm like, you need to understand this is a real sport. When you take it to that level, it's a real sport and it requires real sport training, just like every other real sport at the top level, which means dedication to your craft, staying within reason of your weight, improving from show to show, not transforming into every show. So just have those expectations too. Be real with yourself, and that only you're going to be able to tell yourself that you're being real with yourself or not. And that just means, maybe you don't really want to be the next Miss Olympia because of what it takes. And that's fine. That's why I'm not going for it anymore. I don't really want
to. You don't want to be Miss Olympia?
I don't. These days I probably could try. But I don't. I don't want to go that far because I don't want to go through that to do it. I want to be the coach, and that's hard enough to go through what we go through for that. And so, and I make sacrifices in my life to do that, to be a better coach. And so, so just make sure you match it, and that's just have those expectations and go into it realistically. That's all. If you just want to have fun with it and maybe for the first year, kind of find your way through it, navigate through a few shows, do that, have fun, have your balance. But at that moment you say, I'm going to be the next, I want to get to the Olympia stage, things change. It's a different thing at that point. So just want to put that out there too, because that is important to talk about. Every sport at the top level is hard. So you're going to have to give it your best if you want to get there. And
Absolutely.
It's just realistic. Yeah.
Yeah. And you got to put your ego aside for sure, because you see those competitors that like maybe they always won in high school. Like they were the popular one. They always won. They were such a superstar. And then they get into this and they expect to win. And when they don't, they get all disappointed and salty because that's what their expectations were. You got to put your ego aside and be like, you know what? Hey, this is my first show. It's all part of the journey. I'm just getting started. I made mistakes and I'm going to learn from them. They're not going to happen again, and I'm going to get better and better. Because guess what? Everyone on that Olympia stage has lost at some point. In a perfect world, you would win all your shows and then go pro right away and then win a pro show and then qualify for Olympia and then win the Olympia in a perfect world. But you got to realize there's so many ups and downs. And sometimes those girls you see on stage that are doing so well, guess what? At one time, they were like second call out at a local show, or they were 16th place at nationals, To keep that in mind. But the reason why you see them at the level they're at and they're successful is because they didn't give up. They just kept going and learning.
And that's what it takes. Yeah. That's
hey,
exactly
I got 14th place at my first show in my height class at the Arnold.
Yeah.
Okay. Look at me now. What if I would just given up?
Yeah. There's some Olympia champions that were not even in the top 15 in their first Olympias, you know?
Yeah. So 16th place. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. So it's I'm glad that you mentioned that too. So yeah, this is a fun episode. So thank you guys for I repeat myself. So thank you guys for tuning in. Is there anything we left out? Leave it in the comments below. Maybe it'll give us another topic for future stuff. You know what's coming up pretty soon, guys? I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but the Olympia is coming up
8
soon.
weeks out, and I just did my first cardio session last weekend.
She did.
I was not doing cardio for months,
Yeah.
and I just did one on the 8 week out mark on Saturday.
Yeah.
So I did my first cardio. Yay.
It's grueling. It is grueling.
I just did Orange Theory.
But do you guys in the comments, do you guys want to see a vlog from Ashley and going into the Olympia vlog series or something? I think that would be fun. I think so. So yeah, give us some suggestions of what you want in the comments here below. And then also don't forget, we have a posing seminar this weekend is at the CPC. Yes. And then the next weekend is Utah.
Yes. So this weekend, Contest Prep Center. That's September 16th, Contest Prep Center. Be there, be square. More information on the Team Elite Physique page. You better post something in this today.
Yeah, post it. 10 o'clock for posing. 11:30 is followed by glute camp.
Yes.
And then the next weekend.
And then the following weekend, which is September 23rd, we will be in Utah, Salt Lake City, I believe. Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
Utah. So check out the NPC Utah page for more information about that. And then October 15th is the big one. It's the big one. It's the doozy. So that's the whole NPC seminar with our amazing Olympia judges, Olympia athletes. It's going to be a big event. But the cool thing is they're having it here at the Contest Prep Center. So we feel super special. So if you're in Vegas or close to Vegas, you better be making your way.
Yeah, that's going to be a big one. Sandy's going to be here. There's going to be a lot of different divisions too, not just bikini and wellness. Yeah. It's going to be all the divisions. So, we've got a lot of posing things going on. I love it. It's just fun.
And lots of posing.
You know, it's just so awesome that these days you can actually do that stuff, because there was nothing like this when I was growing up. You know, in bodybuilding, there was no seminars. You know, there wasn't anything like that. So yeah, this is going to be real fun next few weeks. I'm excited. And yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time.